Going to Kansas City. If I could, I could, I could, I could. I'm going to Kansas.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
And I'm Emil Cleaver.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. So this year, 2023, marks the 50th anniversary of this movement called hip-hop.
Before we get into that,
Come on, spit it out.
real quick, this is the first show we've had. This is the first show we've had since the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I know you may not really care about that. But anyway, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, so I have to acknowledge that.
Chiefs Kingdom.
That's why I have to keep wearing. I'm still celebrating the World Championship, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be there again next year.
Man, we're going to be there a few times.
I'm just saying, let's worry about next year.
Yeah. No, it's not an easy battle. I mean, but we're doing good. We're good. So big ups to everyone who loves the Chiefs, and thumbs down to everybody who was against the Chiefs. Nobody picked the Chiefs to win. I mean, all the experts. You remember on Super Bowl Sunday, all the panel. Nobody picked the Chiefs, and
Burris, I guess he was on another channel.
Yeah, but in all actuality, man, I mean, if you looked at them on paper, you were supposed to pick the Eagles. I mean, on paper.
Why?
Because their defense and they had a higher-powered offense. But they're probably going to be back. We're going to be battling it for years. But I think the Chiefs, we have at least 2 more Super Bowls wins. We might go a few more times. I'm saying at least. Maybe probably more than that, because as long as they stay healthy. But so Chiefs Kingdom all the way. But this is the 50th anniversary of the movement called hip hop. It's so big that the Grammys had a tribute to hip hop, which was nice. They went back, got some old school artists, some new school artists. So since we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop, today we're just talking about some monumental moments in hip hop history. Monumental moments in hip hop history. So, you got any? What you want to start with?
Well, I mean, I guess
got to start with the beginning.
I guess, of course, Kool Herc,
DJ Kool Herc from the Bronx.
DJ Kool Herc, who is kind of given the moniker of the godfather of hip hop, throwing house parties in the Bronx. The Bronx, New York, is where hip hop started.
It was in August of 1973. DJ Kool Herc DJ'd his sister's party in the Bronx. And what made his DJing different from just any other DJ, he had 2 turntables, and he was looping those break beats, those heavy percussions, no talking, and just started looping it. And hip-hop was born. 1960.
The break beats were part of the song where nobody was singing or doing anything. It was just the beat playing. And so DJs would take that small part and then just loop it over and over. So you would just have the beat with no sound, with nobody singing, no one singing or anything like that.
So, of course, that has to be talked about. Just the fact that that's where hip-hop began, and then of course it spread, and you see other DJs, Africa Bambaataa, and others, DJ Grand Wizard. He's the one credited with scratching.
Yep. Melly Mel. I mean, not Melly Mel, but Flash, DJ Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah. So, and then of course, it spread not just to the boroughs of New York. It spread all over. It was a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing.
Well, I mean,
it was Lovebug Starsky who coined the phrase hip hop, called it a movement, hip hop.
So, to talk about the origins, I heard Ice-T talk about it once, who just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame
just now.
A West Coast rap pioneer, but I heard him describe it like this. It started out the most important person in hip hop music was the DJ. So the DJ would be on there. He would control the crowd. He would make sure everybody was dancing. And then at one point he was like, hey, I want you to get on the mic. He handed it to somebody and was like, I want you to get on the mic and tell everybody how dope I am. And so the MC would get on the mic and it's like, the DJ's fresh. He scratches like this. No one does it like that, you know. And he would just talk about the DJ. But then he started throwing himself in it. And by the way, I'm MCJ.
I'm a cold-blooded too.
Yeah, I'm MCJ and I'm fly as can be. You know what I mean? So he started throwing his rhyme in there. So that kind of was the birth of the DJ and the MC. Now, two other elements of hip hop that we have to talk about is
breaking,
b-boying, which is breaking, and then also graffiti art, the graffiti writing that you see on the that people used to get mad about in the 70s and 80s in New York.
Now you have murals of
pretty much
all
graffiti
over
artists
the country.
all over. Yeah, those artists are making millions. Some of them, but those are the four elements of hip hop.
You don't even know who Ramon is.
Who?
Ramon could have.
Oh yeah, I know Ramon.
Who is it?
Come on, man. Beat Street. Come on. That's
Beat
ignorant.
Street. I don't know.
So anyway, there's four elements of hip hop for those people who may not be as well versed in hip hop. So it's the DJ who's responsible for creating the sound, the MC who's rapping, the b-boy who's the dancer, and the graffiti artist. So those are the four elements. But anyway, so in different boroughs, different crews began to pop up. You had the Cold Crush Brothers. They were a group of rappers, and they were kind of known as the early lyricists. You had Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. You had the Fantastic Four. So you had these different crews, the Treacherous Three, and they would perform in neighborhoods. And so this music called hip hop was growing. As it was growing in the neighborhoods, there was a music executive, Sylvia Rome, one of the all-time great music executives. So she had a record label, and there was a guy there who used to work for her. He didn't make music of any capacity, but she asked him, do you know anybody that can do this new music called rap? And so,
well, let me just say, it didn't become rap until it became in the industry. It was hip hop. I mean, it became rap when the focus was the primary focus was no longer on the DJ but on the MC. Then it became known as rap.
Well, anyway, so this music group was formed under this label, Sugar Hill, and the group, the Sugar Hill Gang, was born, and they created the first hip hop
Rapper's Delight.
Rapper's Delight, which I'm sure most people, even if you're not into rap, have heard that. Rapper's Delight, the first hip hop song played on the radio.
But you know there's controversy around the song. I know you know. A lot of people may know that some of the lyrics were bit. They stole some of the lyrics.
Stolen from Grandmaster Cass from the Cold Crush Brothers. I mean, most people that are hip hop historians or who were around know about that, but he never really got his credit for writing that. But anyway, so that movement was born. Hip hop was born. So that was probably some of the big moments in hip hop. That Kool Herc in the Bronx at his sister's party, and then the first rap record, Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah, Love Bug, Starsky, naming it
with
hip hop.
With this,
so those are some monumental moments. But let me. Another was when Curtis Blow was the first rapper to sign with a major rap label, and
Curtis
then
Blow.
And then he had the first rap song to go gold, which was "Come On, the Breaks." These are the breaks.
Yeah, which has been sampled many times.
Yeah. So. Just a few moments in hip hop history, but I'm a fast forward.
Early.
Yeah.
So this is 74 is when that.
73 is when DJ Kool Herc first started.
73. The
79 is when the
Sugar Hill Gang.
Somewhere around there.
78, 79 is the Sugar Hill Gang releasing that record. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Another one, another monumental moment in hip hop history were those early movies.
Yes.
Beat Street and Crush Groove.
Yeah.
Crush Groove.
But yeah, even before that was Wild Style.
Wild Style. But that did, I mean, yeah. Wild Style, Fab Five Freddy did that, but it didn't gain.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't nationwide.
Yeah,
it wasn't. But
nationwide.
we still have to give it that credit as the first hip hop film, Wild
Fab
Style.
Five Freddy did his thing. But Crush Groove, if you all remember, I mean, that was a big moment. Crush Groove is kind of telling the story of Run DMC. I know it wasn't complete. You know, it had the founders of Def Jam, Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. And then it, tells a little bit of the story of Run DMC blowing up. You saw the Fat Boys in there, Curtis Blow, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. LL Cool J had the hardest part in the whole movie.
Yeah, he did. Well, no, he didn't. Run DMC when they.
Well, yeah. Talking about whose house? Yeah, I don't know. That was tough. So, hey, we're gonna have a lot of things for you all to put in the comment section. So, if you ever watch Crush Groove, mid to early '80s. Blair Underwood. It was introducing Blair Underwood. He was playing the role of Russell Simmons.
His first leading role.
Yeah.
Blair
So
Underwood.
I want you all to share in our comments which was the hardest part of the movie. Was it when Run, after he got into an argument with his brother, went back on stage,
1985,
and said, "Whose house is whose house?
Run." Jam Master Jay, rest in peace, was on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
He was the DJ. Run.
We had a whole lot of superstars on this stage here tonight.
A lot of people have sampled that.
But I want y'all to know one thing. Yeah. Was it that, or was it when LL busted into what was supposed to be Rick Rubin's dorm room, which is where Def Jam started in real life, busted up in his recording in his studio apartment and started rapping, even though they told him not to. But he came with My Radio, believe me, I like it loud.
So they had to sign him.
Yeah, that was a cold moment.
LL, years later, LL is Hollywood Walk of Fame for his acting roles.
Yeah, and he's also in the music Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the so what do you think was the hardest part of that movie?
Anybody that's seen it, and if you haven't seen it, go watch Crush Groove.
I watched it not too long ago.
It's one of the first rap movies, first hip hop movies, and it was featuring one of the first superstar group of rap. I mean, there were groups before them that were big and did very well, but Run DMC was the first group that crossed over.
Yeah,
to
they
mainstream.
did well. Other groups did well. Like some were just in New York, out on the East Coast, maybe New Jersey. Some of those folk we didn't hear about in the Midwest and South and further until later on, as they started sharing a little more. But at one point, a lot of part of the country, by the early '80s, they weren't playing any hip hop on radio stations.
Yeah, that goes for here.
Yeah, in a lot of places, but yes, here in Kansas City, man. Okay.
People don't know. They hear rap music on the radio constantly. But in the 80s and 90s, I mean, they were not playing rap music.
Well, in the 90s, you were getting it
at certain hours.
Yeah, but even then, they were only playing those songs that were specific for the radio. No, they weren't playing De La or anything like that. But they were playing those dance records. So you did hear MC Hammer and some others like that. But I'm going to fast forward to another big moment because I want to talk about it a little bit. And we talked about it, I think, a little bit on some of the other shows. But 1988.
Real quick, B Street was 1984, so we had to talk about that.
B
That
Street
was another movie, one of the first great movies.
And it incorporated a little more than Crush Groove because you saw dancing.
And graffiti.
Battles, yeah. You saw
dance, graffiti, DJ, and hip-hop. So it was all four elements.
You saw it all. So, yeah, go check out those movies, Crush Groove and Beat Street.
Beat Street, 1984, Crush Groove, 1985.
Yeah. But I'm going to fast forward a few years to 1988, which I think is maybe one of the most pivotal moments in hip hop history. Maybe the outside of DJ Kool Herc. But it was NWA dropping Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
Probably, in terms of what it did for the culture, it might be the greatest album. I'm not saying it's the greatest album in terms of listening to it, although it was a good album.
It was a good album.
Very, very good album. But let me say, maybe it was
most influential.
Yeah, no, that definitely the most influential. So here you have Straight Outta Compton. Most people know what NWA stands for, Ninjas with Attitudes, and Straight Outta Compton. So they're talking about shooting, a lot of sex, a lot of violence, and they sell millions. And in most parts of the world, they didn't have any songs on the radio.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't play their songs on the radio.
Like they do today. They just beep it out.
Yeah. They don't even beep stuff out, man. Either some of them. But here's why I think it's the most influential. Because once greedy record execs saw this group and they gave it the name gangsta rap, and then later folk within the actual hip hop artists tried to take it back by calling it reality rap instead of gangsta rap was the name that the industry gave to it. But here's why it's the most influential. Because when that happened, it blew up. They sold millions. Then record execs said, hey, that stuff really can make a whole lot of money. So what did they do? They started flooding the market with what they were calling gangster rap, what some call reality rap. And so that became the most popular form. Common has a song called I Used to Love Her. And he's talking about hip hop. And he talks about how when that switch happened in the industry, then the rappers got rid of the braids, beads, medallions. And when they worked on that tip about stopping the violence, it switched. It became about what industry was calling gangster rap. And so the market was flooded. And so there are a lot of people, probably even to this day, who think that that's hip hop. Hip hop is talking about guns, violence, women, drugs, and all of those things. That's why I think, I don't know.
There was definitely a turning point in hip hop, because what you hear today in the majority of rap songs is not what hip hop started out to be. There was definitely a turning point. NWA, was probably the focal point of that. And then I think probably the selling of Def Jam. I can't remember. I don't know what year that was. I know there was a little gap, but there was a little span. NWA kind of rose up. And then once people saw that they couldn't stop that, it was probably 1990 when they saw that they couldn't stop that, when Two Live Crew won a Supreme Court case. And they are the reason that
so when you say they saw they couldn't stop it, who's they?
They is the man.
Okay. Well, yeah.
The man, the industry, the people that make all the money from black music but are not black. That's they, and just in case. But yeah, so NWA comes out in 1988. So Two Live Crew wins a Supreme Court, saying they can pretty much say anything they want on record. And, once the industry saw that they couldn't stop that and it sold millions, I think they joined in, and that became the mainstream hip hop, mainstream rap. So groups like Public Enemy, who were I guess you can look at them like the Black Panthers of rap. I mean, yeah, they were revolutionaries. The Black Panthers of rap, pretty much, are Malcolm X of rap, a rap group filled with a bunch of militants. But they were rapping about it. But they were selling millions. That will never again happen in America. Yeah, there'll never be another black militant rap group that sells millions of records. That's millions of. Come on, man. Because in this day, first of all, it'll be hard to switch the genre from what it is now. The mainstream of the genre is pretty much I'm the toughest dude in town, and I'll kill you if you say that I'm not.
Well, hey, let me just say this. I just thought,
and I sell the most dope.
Of Tretch from Naughty by Nature had this part said, "Cussing wasn't nothing till a black man rapped." Basically, he's saying people weren't tripping off foul language until you had these black people making millions off of it. And that's what Two Live Crew and many others. But what the whole thing about, I guess another pivotal part, which would have been around the same time or close around there, you had the generation above us, black folk, fighting against it. And
that's a whole nother show. We could go on to that. Yeah, because when rap first came out, black parents hated it. They thought it was the worst thing in the world. And I can understand if it came out like it is now, but back then it was pretty much nursery. Run DMC, said maybe 3 cuss words in all of their rhymes and all of their albums. Rakim, he wasn't cursing in any of his music. It wasn't like that. It was just different, and it was aggressive, but it wasn't. It was probably PG. Most of it was PG. The music was PG back then, but black parents hated it, just like they hated rock and roll, just like they hated blues, just like they hated jazz, just like they hated ragtime. You'd think we would get it by now. The generation.
But you can say our generation.
Yeah, it's the same way.
We don't.
But anyway, so because of our parents didn't, so to speak, when I say the generation above us, our parents didn't get that music, another group of people that were not black were able to come in and take control of that music instead of the generation above us, before us, recognizing, hey, this is new. We're going to put this out and we're going to take control of it. And that's why today the music is how it is, where 90% of the music you hear on the radio is, pretty much negative. I'm going to go ahead and say negative music.
Ain't positive.
Negative music.
Some of it I like, you do.
You can like it, but it's still negative.
No, yeah, right. It's not
It
not
wasn't
uplifting.
always like that.
It's not uplifting.
No, it's not uplifting.
And the person who's, I guess you're talking about pivotal moment. So who started this gangster reality rap? A lot of folk went to Ice-T and thought Ice-T started it. But Ice-T, being the hip-hop lover he is, credits Schoolie D, a Philadelphia rapper, as being the first.
And Schoolie D was a real gangster.
Yeah. But then you got people like DJ Quick said he was the first banging. He was the first to bang on rap. He was making underground tapes. Yeah. I think you could probably credit Schoolie D may have been the one who put it first on wax and influenced Ice-T, but I think Ice-T is the one. He's a pioneer. Then of course you had, when NWA came along, it just blew that genre up. I guess a lot of folk don't even understand there are different genres of hip hop.
Yes.
It's not all the same thing. It's not hip hop. There probably 1,000 different genres
so many
of hip hop.
Yeah.
And
I don't even know the names of all of them, but they're different music, different sounds. Yeah, from the 808s to the boom bap, the backpackers. There's a different genres. We can't even go over all of them, but we'll talk about one of those genre breaking groups later on. Yeah.
So, it definitely. But like you said, what is most popular is the positive stuff.
No, it's not positive.
So,
you have Kendrick Lamar and you have J. Cole, who are doing something, but for the most part, there's
a few others.
But I'm just saying.
But mostly what's dominated, you're gonna hear,
is op music now. It's kind of running the airwaves. Op music is music talking about your opposition. People that obviously you don't want to see the best from, and
that's what you're gonna say.
You don't want to see the best.
Several rappers have been arrested because they confessed their crimes on wax.
Yes, there are rappers that are on trial right now because they have talked about hurting other people on record and on songs, and they are being used against rappers now. And then there's a movement in hip hop. You know, I'm not for it, saying that you shouldn't be able to use someone's music against them in court. And my thought is, if you don't want it used against you in court, then maybe you should not.
They're trying to keep it real.
About
That's
it.
why.
I mean,
Because talk about rapping about what we see, meaning reality. So they talk about what their personal experiences. I mean, I agree. If you don't want to get caught, don't say it. But I'm just trying to come from the perspective of those who have done it and then been arrested as a result.
Redman, a rapper named Redman, was
from New Jersey.
I saw an interview he was in, and he was talking about his upbringing, and his upbringing, he was selling dope. He was selling a lot of crack in New Jersey, and the interviewer asked, "Well, why? How come you don't ever rap about it?" And he's like, "I don't want to rap about that. That's not what I want to talk about." And he doesn't. And if I hadn't seen that interview, I would have never even really known, because that's not something that he talks about in his music. So, I mean, you keep it real, but you don't have to. I mean, Tretch from Naughty by Nature, he doesn't, he's not real Naughty by Nature. They're not gangster rap.
No.
But
But then, of course, as you know, some of the gangster rappers aren't really gangsters.
Yeah.
Or reality rap, whatever you want to call it. But that is it's an interesting thing, just to look where it started 50 years ago, and then you have various genres of this thing.
And it's the biggest music in the world.
I was in Oslo, Norway, and they were having a talent show, and most of the people performing at this talent show at some club there were rapping. Some of them were actually taking some. I don't know if they thought it was original. This one song is like, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you something like that. I'm like, man, hold up. That song's already been done. Anyway,
up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded a little different, but that was the whole point. In Oslo, Norway, bunch of folk rapping. And I wanted to go back because you talked about the industry being controlled by people who aren't black, who started it. So, I mean, if you really want to get technical, yeah, it was started by black people and DJ Kool Herc, but the early formation of it was black and Latin X early on.
Yeah, Latin.
You had a lot of those Puerto Rican and others who were part of the early days of hip hop,
who were heavily involved with the founding and formation and pioneering of hip hop,
especially in those breaking crews. But I was watching Talib Kweli, one of the greatest rappers of all time. He was doing an interviewing, I think it was a white DJ rapper. I forgot his name. But he was saying, they were talking about how some are trying to say it was started collective because everybody listens to it now and everybody does it, that it wasn't a black thing. I actually heard that. That is... that it's America. So they don't say it was America started in the inner cities of America. No, they say this is an American art form.
And it's an American. It was an art form that was originated in America, but make no mistake, it was started in the Bronx by blacks.
And then even beyond that, even when you get to the early 80s and even late 80s and early 90s, I mean, you remember when we were in school, and Lottie Dottie came out. All the black folk in the school knew Lottie Dottie.
Yeah, no one.
You asked all the white kids, they were like, "What in the world is that? What is Lottie Dottie?" I mean, so even as it grew, it was only growing from inner city to inner city to inner city. Now, yeah, there were several groups that got people's attention. Run DMC
was one
opened
of the
a lot
first.
of eyes, but still, people would listen to folk like Run DMC. And this is a pivotal moment too. And I mean, it could be bad and or good, but that's when the Beastie Boys came out.
Yeah.
Because when the Beastie Boys came out, and they had hip hop, but they had a lot of rock. And of course, the Beastie Boys became, at that time, they were the biggest selling rap group of all time. Yeah. But that influenced folks. So I remember watching TV shows and they're talking about the Beastie Boys. And the Beastie Boys were fine. But I'm like, man, what about Run DMC? What about Houdini? What about LL Cool J, Kool Moe Dee?
The Beastie Boys really crossed it over. 1986, Licensed to Ill. They really, that's when they really. It was a great album. LL, wrote that album, wrote a lot of it. I think Run DMC wrote some songs, but yeah, I mean, Beastie Boys. Yeah, we went to white schools, and the white kids were, saying, if you let them tell it, the Beastie Boys started rap. They had never heard anything to the Beastie Boys, but yeah, they that was a pivotal moment. Run DMC making the song with Aerosmith, "Walk This Way," which is around '86 too, I think.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, that was a big deal, and that crossed it over.
Then the Fat Boys did cross over. They did a song with the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
So you had some big, pretty, but still, even then, even after Run DMC and Aerosmith, even after the Beastie Boys, even after Fat Boys and doing their thing with the Beach Boys, I mean, it was still mostly an urban. By this time, they were playing a little more on the radio, but you weren't hearing it on the predominantly white radio stations, and they still weren't listening. They might have heard of one big song. You go to a party that's being DJ'd that's predominantly white, you might hear one hip-hop song, a popular one.
Yeah, Tone Loc.
Yeah, something like that, or Young MC. You might hear something like that, but you wouldn't really. I mean, they wasn't bumping it. So I don't know how folk can just say it was an American thing. It was started by black folk and it spread by black folk, and it became
for a while. I mean, it was black for a while. We were in high school. It came out in what we said was it 73.
73, but the first, you can say that what it started going nationwide when Rapper's Delight came out.
78, 78, 79, and in 80 in high school, and in 85, 86, when we were race out, no one was listening to LL Cool J, except black people, except the black kids there. No one was listening to Lottie Dottie. No one was listening to any of that. Salt and Pepper at that time.
If you went to a party sponsored by Race Out, you were going to listen. If you wanted hip hop, you were going to get Walk This Way.
Yeah, that was the only song you're going to get. So yeah, it was. In '86, wouldn't be to the late '80s, early '90s when white kids really submerged themselves in rap.
Yeah.
You had a lot of people running around here, white kids running around here wanting to be like Tupac.
Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, because we're going to have to talk about the culture. Well, yeah, Tupac, but also the culture that hip-hop brought on. But we won't dig into that. But, yeah, I want to name another monumental moment in history, hip-hop history. That's when the album Paid in Full came out.
Eric B. and Rakim.
Eric B. and Rakim. So keep in mind, like we were saying earlier, first the attention was paid to the DJ. So the name of the group was Eric B., who was the DJ, and Rakim was the rapper. Of course, one of the greatest rappers of all time. But I remember when that album came out, that was the first time I can remember. It came out in 86 or 87. I remember that was the first time I remember people analyzing lyrics. Like, man, did you hear what Rakim said? He was saying this. Oh, what did it mean? Oh, he was talking about this. I mean, that was the first album.
Well, he was the first rapper talking about science. You know what I mean? 5% nation.
He was dropping knowledge.
Yeah, no one was talking like he was. Talking about the earth revolving around the sun and things like this, and no one had heard anything like that. But yeah, so he kind of changed.
Yeah, he changed, and the flow
changed the flow of music, changed the whole trajectory.
Yeah, and how people rap. I mean, the flow that people had in rap. He changed it because he wasn't. Before then it was, do it like this, and then he came in thinking of a master plan because ain't nothing but sweat inside my hand. I mean, he was. He changed the game. You could probably put KRS-One Boogie Down Productions in there.
Yeah, I would say that there's three. I mean, KRS-One, he kind of, because he was doing the philosophy.
Man,
and then you had Cool G Rap. You know, he kind of brought a whole new, you know, dynamic to it as well.
So if you all don't know who Cool G Rap is, go look him up. Before Nas was going to, when he was trying to sign a record deal, he went to Def Jam. Russell Simmons didn't sign him because he said he sounded just like Cool G Rap. So just to show you Cool G Rap's influence. But yeah, because Cool G Rap's style, I mean, man, he was doing it different. So yeah, I would agree those three. And then you look at KRS-One and Rakim, just the content, like you said. I mean, KRS-One's giving history lessons over some cold beats. I mean, he's teaching. Rakim is teaching. But they're also talking about partying and having fun.
And not in a teachy way, though.
Yeah.
They're teaching because you're more curious because you had never heard anyone rap like this or talk about these things.
I remember. So let me ask you this question. I knew you didn't prepare for it. So, what was the first hip hop song where you learned all the words at least to one verse?
Shoot, I mean, the first song that mesmerized me when I heard Rapper's Delight, that was cool. I mean, I liked it, but it didn't blow me away. It didn't really blow me away. The song that blew me away was Planet Rock. When I first heard that was mesmerizing.
Yeah.
But the I guess probably the song that I first learned a verse to was most definitely Run DMC Sucker MCs. 2 years ago, a friend of mine asked me to sing MC Rhyme. So yeah, that was the first one that I probably learned the verse Sucker MC. Well, yeah, because that was before they even had an album out.
Yeah,
they didn't even have an album out at that time. That was like probably 81, and I think we had ordered it on a record. It was a record.
Yeah,
it was
had a
Run
bunch of
DMC,
different
Sucker
artists.
MCs, and then I guess Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel, White Lines. Those are some good times because it was just a whole new genre of music that we were discovering at that time. But yeah, that was probably the first song, Sucker MCs.
Yeah, I think Sucker MCs was close. I remember memorizing that song. The other one might have been Beat Street.
Oh yeah, Beat Street.
Melly Mel. Yeah, it might have been Beat Street. I don't now, but it was one of those two that I remember. Then LL came out, and I'm Bad. That was probably I'm Bad is probably the first song I knew all the words of the entire song. Probably I'm Bad. So LL, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, legend. I heard somebody else ask that. Somebody asked in an interview, Dave East, what was the first hip hop verse he memorized, and it was a song by Nas, and I forgot. So that made me ask that question.
What a surprise! And now he's signed by Nas.
What was the first song? Hey, put that in our chats. What's the first hip hop song that you learned the words to? I'm gonna switch from pivotal moments because we're talking about lyrics, and when Rakim and KRS-One and Cool G Rap and some others. I mean, they weren't the first people who had lyrics, but when they came out, everybody after them had to be saying something. What do you think about when you hear people say, I never listened to the words, I just listened to the beats? Have you ever heard anybody say that?
I've heard many people say that. I don't understand it, but but those are people who just want to dance.
Yeah,
Mostly.
Some of them like, they're not really dancers. They just like the beat. I don't know.
We had to come back to the pivotal moments because we got to get to De La Soul.
So, yes, we lost a true great MC, part of one of the best hip-hop groups of all time. They're in my top 5 hip-hop groups of all time.
I haven't put my top 5 together, but it's hard to keep them out.
Yeah. So, Dave, Trugoy, Dove, Plug 2 from De La Soul passed away. So we just wanted to end the show today talking about our favorite De La Soul song. So just talking about De La Soul's impact.
Yeah, Tell them who De
I mean,
La Soul
De La
is.
Soul came out, and they were unlike anything, any group that had ever come out. I think their first song before they came out, even with 3 Feet and High Rising, was Plug Tuning. Plug Tuning. And
Tuning.
they talked about that originally they weren't going to go by the names Plug 1 and 2. I mean, it was Posdnuos, Maceo, and Dove. But when they came out, did Plug Tuning, and Posdnuos called himself Plug 1, Dove called himself Plug 2, Maceo was Plug 3, those names stuck. And so they kept them along with all their other nicknames.
Which they had many.
Yeah, all of their other nicknames. So they were just different. A lot of people called them hippies when they first came out, and they weren't hardcore. I mean, well, I don't know. If you listen to Posdnuos, he said the flavor's being rough, but brothers ain't getting it.
Yeah.
So
they weren't gangsters.
yeah, they weren't gangsters.
Street guys. And at this time, when they came out, it was heavy gangster, like it is now.
They came out in 89.
89.
So NWA had already come out.
Right.
And the Ghetto Boys were coming out. Compton's Most Wanted may have been a few years later.
No, they were out. I think
Okay.
they were out I don't know. Yeah, they may have been out by.
But yeah, it was the industry was influenced. It was heavy. And at this time, late 80s, early 90s, the shift was you were getting more, the biggest groups were coming out of the West. By the early 90s, West Coast was dominating hip hop.
So De La came out with a whole new style, whole new sound, that boom bap. Their genre of rap, I guess, was a boom bap. The Backpackers, Daisy Lovers, what they were called, hippies. But yeah, they came out. One of the all-time greats. Their first record, their first album, actually was a huge success.
Because it was so different.
Yeah, it was so different that it actually blew up. And no rap group like them will. I'm not gonna say that. It would be hard to sell that big and be like them.
Oh, you talking about selling? Yeah.
Sell that many records.
Yeah, because there's some groups that have come out have been original. They don't sound like anybody else. That's De La Soul. If you hear them, they don't sound like anyone else.
You hear them, their verses, and you'll be like, I don't understand what they're saying. You can understand the words that they're coming out of their mouth,
but they're using metaphors,
similes, and all types
abstract concepts.
So anyway,
nice.
So anyway, we wanted to do top 5 De La Soul songs in honor of Plug 2, Dave, Trugoy, the Dove. Top 5 De La. You want to go first, or who's going first?
I don't know.
I'll go first.
All right.
So we're doing top 5 albums, right?
I thought songs, man.
No, top 5 songs. Yeah. Number 5. 1993, I Be.
What?
Yeah, one of the great, man, that song
I Am
is so great.
Posdnuos.
Just the title.
Be the new generation
Just
of
the new
slaves.
title.
That
Listen
make
to
tapes
that.
to
I
rise
Am,
for-
I Be. I mean, it is.
It was nice. That horns, that
Man,
jazz.
Man,
horns,
they sample
man.
Maceo Parker.
That song, I mean,
It's a great song.
It's a
I Am,
mellow
I Be.
song, man.
It's mesmerizing.
Yeah.
That's number 5. I mean, that could even be higher.
Yeah.
Number 4, I got The Grind Date, 2004, from their album The Grind Date. One of the great. Yeah, I mean, this was a tough list because they have so many songs. But yeah, The Grind Date from their. I think they went independent. That was when they first left Tommy Boy. They were signed, actually, I believe, to at that time Beyonce Knowles' daddy. Matthew Knowles, his label, for this one deal. I thought they'd do well on it, but I guess he doesn't really know hip hop like that. But so number 4, I have The Business. 3. Yeah, number 3, I have The Business, 1996, featuring Common.
That was a nice one.
That beat is banging. It's one of the. That song should have been played on the radio continuously.
It could have, man. It was a simple. I mean, didn't have a whole bunch of instruments.
It was just a simple beat.
No,
And three guys just tear it up lyrically. Number 2, I have Stakes is High from the album Stakes is High,
The instamatic vocal
1996.
point, bringing damage to your brother Burrow, Beats and Brothers from the East with the beats that be thorough.
Yeah, I mean they came with it on that one. I mean the beat was great on that, and they just came with it. They came with it with the verse.
They do. I mean, you
That
got
was
to
one of
listen to these dudes.
Yeah, that was one of the great songs. Number 1, and my list may change next week.
I'm listening to them. I've been listening to them all week long. So yeah, I'm sure.
I'm waiting. I'm just waiting for them to release their music.
Yes. So their music has not been on streaming platforms because they have a bunch of samples, which is what we didn't talk about in hip hop.
Yeah,
hip hop, especially in the early days, was
we'll be coming back to it.
Filled with samples. Okay.
Yeah, but so they were the king of samples, and that was one of the reasons they were the first group to sample an entire song, and they were one of the first group to have skits in between their songs. But anyway, so number 1, I'm gonna go with "Break of Dawn," 1993. Great sample.
Didn't they sample Michael? That was Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. The beat is just relaxing. The lyrics are intelligent.
Maybe that's why, man. Maybe most people aren't intelligent. That's why they don't get folks.
Yeah, that's
like De La Soul
and that's why they started out good because they were different. They sold a lot, but then as they kept making music, their sales went down. Even though their music got better. You know, if you ask me,
if you ask me, ask anybody.
Yeah, their music definitely got better, but their sales, but their sales, peaked at their first 2 albums, and then people, were like, man, we don't understand what these dudes are saying, and this is one of the groups where if you don't read books, you probably won't get what they're saying.
Yeah.
So that's my top 5. Break It Dawn, and that could change next week after they drop their albums and I start listening to it again.
Yeah. All right. It's a good list. Number 5 on my list, I have "Me, Myself, and I," simply because that was probably their biggest hit.
It was no question their biggest hit.
And they're sampling funk.
Yeah, they sampled Rick James. So they sampled. Yeah, that was Rick James.
No, that was wasn't it P Funk or George Clinton? Was it? Yeah. So "Me, Myself, and I," and that song, even though it wasn't their first, I think it might have been. It was their biggest. It was one of their early from their first album, but right then and there, they told you who they were. There's like, basically in the song, like, we're not trying to be like anyone else. This is who I am. Not going to front, not going to pretend. Just me, myself, and I. This is who we are. And that's what got everybody's attention. So I have "Me, Myself, and I." Number 4 is a song that's probably going to move up on my list. It's called "Trying People." And that song is one of those songs, the beat is just a mellow beat. And it starts off with a friend of theirs calling Dave on the phone. And so, because they're, De La Soul did their skits, calls Dave on the phone, like, man, I want to hear this new song that I heard about. When you have time, can I hear this song called "Trying People"? I heard a lot about it. Yeah, and then the song comes in and they play it. And Dove, True Goy, the Dove, he has a part that I love in there. He's like, man, I want a wife. I love women. I can't front like that I don't be in love with them. He kills. Both of them. Pasta.
And they were some great rappers.
The song, the thing about that song, they're talking about their lives and they're being completely transparent. They're sharing what's going on. And he says, Dave says, I love women. I want a wife. I love women, but I can't front like I don't be in love with them. It's good. So, "Me, Myself, and I," number 5. Number 4, "Trying People." Number 2 is "Ego Trippin' Part 2.
Ego Trip. Ego Trip.
Man, they killed it on that
Ego
one.
Trip.
Man. The answer to the riddle is me. Now here's the question: who could be dope? Who could be fresh? They killed it.
That was a good song, "Ego Trip."
Number 2 on mine is "Stakes is High."
Stakes is high.
And again, that's
You know
one
them
of those
stakes
songs,
is high.
I would think, because in that first verse where Pasta News starts off, then the Dove starts, ends it, Dave ends it. That verse was hip hop quotable of the month.
Yeah.
That whole verse.
Lyrics
both
of the month.
Yeah.
So
Back in the day.
there was a magazine called Source Magazine, which was
the
kind of the
Bible.
Bible of hip hop, and they would have a hip hop quotable every month, and that verse in Stakes is High was
First verse was
hip hop quotable.
it was a nice
Every
verse.
I say should be a hip hop quotable was what Dove said. Which song was that?
That
was Pasta News.
Pasta
Yeah,
News
Pasta
ended.
News.
And then Dave comes in. I'm sick, and he talks about what he's sick of.
Yeah, I'm sick. Yeah, he's sick of what you're hearing on the radio
Right.
now.
Basically,
pretty
he's
much.
saying I'm sick of hearing about Versace glasses, sick about hearing about blunts, sick of award shows that ain't about nothing. They did his thing. Number one on my song on my list, and this is probably the one song that may not change. My favorite De La Soul song is "I Am I Be" from that Balloon Mind State album.
Yeah,
It is great.
and I need to listen to the music again because I haven't listened to it. I haven't listened. I'm waiting for it to drop streaming, and then I'll go listen to it, and then I'll probably have to come back because
Yeah.
I Am I Be. I haven't heard I Am I Be in probably maybe 8 years.
So yeah, I'm sure my list will change because some of those
Well,
middle albums I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not streaming.
yeah.
But their last album, The Anonymous Nobody, has a song. So my honorable mention, that song they have on there called "Pain" with Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
That's in my
that's a
honorable
good one.
mention.
That's a good
Snoop
one.
does his thing.
Yeah.
That beat is nice.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I got there, and I even like the song with 2 Chainz, Houdini.
Yeah, that song.
On
That whole
there.
album was good.
It was.
They have
it
a
was.
song called "It's So Easy." It's so easy.
Another honorable mention I have is a roller skating jam named Saturday. That's the kind of titles they have. That's the name of the song. A roller skating jam named Saturday. Then I like the song they have with Shaka Khan, All Good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. I'm surprised that song didn't blow up. I mean,
Yeah, they were too complicated.
they didn't have enough chains on. So that's our top 5 songs from De La Soul. Let us know what you think. Put it in the comment section.
You all right? Dang, man.
It's all right. So put it in the comment section. De La Soul song. Favorite De La Soul song.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with De La Soul, go check them out.
They come
Their
out
whole-
on May 3rd is when it comes out on streaming.
I'm not sure. when.
Sometime in May. No, I think it's March.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's April, actually. Yeah, I look it up. But their music, they've been in a conflict with their record label for years and years and years. So ever since this new streaming music platform has come around, their music has not been available. So they've resolved those issues right before Dave died. And so their music will be available for streaming extremely soon.
March 3rd. March 3rd.
March
is when it
3rd.
come
So,
out.
yeah,
So
so
hopefully
there
a
it
whole
is.
new generation will be introduced to him.
And so I know Questlove from The Roots was saying he wants to make 6 De La Soul albums in the top 10. You know, it'll be the first time a group will have 6 albums debuting in the stream and top 10 at the same time. So he wants to set that record. Fortunately, Dave did know that they got the rights to the music, but he won't personally see the benefits from all of that. It's maybe his kid. I'm sure his kids will.
Yeah. So check out De La Soul.
Be sure to vote for Tribe Called Quest. They're nominated again for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Missy Elliott is as well. But Tribe Called Quest, second time, they have to be in.
So just and the last thing, De La Soul was a part of a crew,
Called Native Tongues.
Native Tongues.
Which was Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Jungle Brothers, Black Sheep, Brand
Queen Latifah,
Nubians, Queen Latifah,
Moni
Moni Love, and Leaders of the New School.
I was wondering, was that a diss?
What?
On the song, like on I Am I Be, Pasta News said,
He dissed Q-Tip and old boy from Jungle before. He said he wasn't dissing him, but that was how he felt at that moment. He said he regret putting it in there because people always say, remember that how he him and Tip weren't getting along at a moment. Is that the what?
Yeah, well, you're talking about like now we barely speak.
Yeah,
I guess we want our own kingdom to
Right,
rule.
yeah.
I thought he was talking about Queen Latifah.
No, he was talking about Q-Tip and Jungle from Jungle Brothers. They weren't seeing eye to eye, but he said in the interview it was just at that moment. They resolved that quick and they're all good. But he writes what he feels, but he said people always bring that up, and he kind of regrets that because it was just a moment, and people, hang on to that moment of, I guess him disagreeing with his brothers.
I think it's good. I mean, yeah, I can understand people always wanting to talk about that, but I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. You writing, you expressing what's going on right then and there.
That's what made him great.
Makes it real. Yeah, that's what made and makes De La Soul so great. Let us know your favorite De La Soul song. Check us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. And be on the lookout. We have some more hip-hop shows coming up real soon.
Celebrating the 50th year all year.
50 years.
Peace.
I'm of the models, here I am. I come, that's where I'm from.